All right, well, in today's video, we're gonna start cutting some new trail. I've done a bit of Google mapping to find out where the lines are, but there's a weird strip of crown land, kind of everything off this way is private, everything off that way is private, and there's a weird strip of crown land here. But the only problem with it is that it gains probably 400 meters of elevation in a very short amount of time, so real steep. So we were in here last, I guess it was just 2 days ago. It kind of opened up and established old game trail. It kind of gains ground quite quick, but it's going to require a lot of work before we can get dirt bikes in there. So what I'm doing today is that when we got to the far end, there was a ravine that we ended up hiking down into, and by the look of Google Maps, it comes down not too far in here. So what I'm trying to do is just do more of a low line trail today, mostly just exploratory, cutting down any branches that are on the trees, just, you know, the face smackers, that kind of thing, and roughing it in just to see where the bottom of that ravine is, because I think that's going to be the easiest way up onto the top. Because once we get up off this nasty hill climb stuff, it levels out quite a bit, and then it's all crown land and you can go for miles and miles. So the goal of this mini series is just going to be building some trails. So we'll continue on. Yeah, so we're just trying to knock down any of this type of stuff for today, mostly so I can see when I come back in here. But on this lower section of the trail, I'm not really looking to make it anything crazy technical and narrow single track. I want it to be somewhat wide. I know that there's going to be some horseback riding going on in through here, and then I like to trail run and rock too. So really this low line trail is just going to be a connector to get into more single track nasty dirt bike trails. The goal here is just kind of open this up nice and wide so that everybody can use it. So we're making pretty good progress. It's basically going from that to that. So I'm not looking to cut down any trees. We're kind of picking where the trail goes based on where we can just trim branches. You know, the odd little sapling that's dead already, I might, you know, trim that guy out of there just so it's wide enough. But yeah, we'll just keep poking our way through. So I think that one mistake that a lot of people make when they're putting in trails is that they either try to hit all of the hardest features, or they hit none. Like this little section behind me, I mean, it's hard to tell, everything always is on camera, but there's a bit of a rock here where you come out of a nice little tight little wood section, and then it's just nice to have a little feature on the trail. So instead of going around, I could have gone down and skirted around it, but we added this little rock feature so that it's still fun and technical. Just because it's a connector trail doesn't mean that you don't want it to be too boring. So we'll have a little rock section here, and then we get into some tight woods, and we'll look for the next feature. To make a bit of a change, originally the trail was going to come through here over this dead log and kind of just stay on the same elevation, but I don't know if you can see all that blowdown in the distance, or soon to be. I don't want to have to come back and clean that up, and it's super thick down here. So we're just going to change, turn, come up here, and then we're going to kind of shoot straight this way. And then I think we might be able to add a bit of a feature, because I think there's, I don't know if you could tell, but kind of where the dogs are there, those are all boulders. So we might be able to catch the kind of the bottom half of this rock cliff for a little bit of a boulder patch. And so we'll maybe climb a bit in elevation, and then we'll drop back down and then continue on straight. So the one nice thing so far is that a lot of this stuff has just been small. I'll pack the big chainsaw in here if I have to, if I get into anything crazy big, but for now the the handsaw and the hatchet is working. Once we do that upper piece, there'll be picks and shovels, and I'd like to build some nice elevated corners because it's really steep, lots of big drop-offs. And I mean, I like the hard technical stuff, but I also don't like breaking my bike and myself if I don't have to, so I'll try to clean it up a little bit just to make it a little bit more rideable for not only myself, but for everybody. And, you know, take a bit of the style from the mountain bike guys. Those guys build real nice trails. They take their time and almost make it a little bit like a piece of art, which I do like landscaping, so I would like it to look nice. So we are kind of tying into a few existing trails. I mean, they're old. I don't know if maybe somebody used to ride back here in the day or if this is all just game trail, but just when I come through this trees, you can see there's another one that kind of goes down here. So we'll take the easy bits where we can get it. This looks pretty nice. A little bit of rock action through here. I don't want to gain too much because it starts to get pretty steep right quick. So I think we'll just skirt along the bottom and grab the boulders where we can and see what's around that next corner. So one thing that I'll do as I'm going through here too is that, like I said earlier, is that today's just kind of cut in a base trail. But then anytime I see anything that has potential for a secondary piece where a guy can break off and then drop back down onto the main trail, like I was just cutting a few little saplings, dead saplings out of here. And there's a really nice rock section that you could cut in, trim those two trees, a little bit of a log at the end. So like I'll drop a pin here with a note saying this is a potential. If you have flagging tape, you can flag it too, do whatever you got to do, but sometimes you don't notice it on your way back or the next time you come in because you're busy cutting more trail. But this here has got massive potential. I kind of want to make the trail go that way, but not everybody will be able to ride that, so we'll just continue on and make a note of it. All right, so we just came through that bit of a low brush section out of the timbers into this little opening, and there's just a ton of like 1 to 2 foot shrubs. I won't waste my time with that. I mean, if some guys building trail will come out with, especially in like coastal areas, will come out with like weed eaters with blades on them and trim it all back. I'll just punch that in with the bike. I think that'll be the easiest unless you had a big section, but we'll just ride that through. And then now this is starting to come down. So I think we're just going to shoot kind of straight through here. And then we'll get around. There's a bit of a point that comes down. So we'll shoot through here and then we should be able to ride up that point. And then I think we're real close here. And then I think for today, we might just get to the base of it and walk up, have a quick look, but we'll do a little bit more clearing on the way back out. And then that'll be day 2. I might ride my bike in here next time, start riding this in, get farther in, and then go from there. So yeah, the main reason that I'm punching this trail in, like I said a little bit earlier, is that I hate loading my bike. Like, I've been spoiled. I've always had crown land within riding distance, if not touching property line rurally. So this is just one of those have to do things. Like I could ride way down the road, probably like 5 to 10 minutes. And then you kind of have to go through a piece of private property, which I got permission, but it's a pain in the butt. And then it's a big bunch of road riding through cut blocks, FSR roads. Where this, if I can get this cut in and managed, everybody gets to use it. And then we can just shoot straight up the mountain and then we're into good riding. So this will be good. I think one thing to keep in mind too, when you are cutting these trails in, is when you're doing this rough in, don't try to figure out exactly where it's going to be. Like, you're going to have to get your bike in here, especially in these wider open spots like this. Pick a general path, and then once you get your bike in here, you can kind of figure out what's going to flow the nicest, because a lot of the times you'll make a corner way too tight where you're piling debris or whatever you're doing, and then when you get your bike in here, it's unrideable. Not unrideable, just doesn't flow nice. So I've just kind of left this piece pretty open. We're basically going to be coming out from over in here, and then we'll pick whatever line makes the most sense. But it's a little bit tough in here because it's everywhere I look has got potential to be something pretty nice. So we're going to kind of continue up over this old log, and then you can kind of start to see the greenery of the ravine here now, so we're just going to swoop around this side and then we should be in it. And then that should leave us enough daylight still to get back and dive at it again another day. So like I say, I think I actually kind of like this little high section here. So we'll come through, I'll knock some of these branches off, and then we'll shoot for between those two little logs there. And that'll be a nice spot. So one thing I'm kind of curious about too is, here's an old bottle. I've never seen one that shape before. Carling. Huh. Is the ground here. Like I tried ripping a little trail just back at the beginning here to kind of go straight up, kind of more of a hard enduro style, and there's maybe like 2 inches of moss and pine needles and shit, and then it's right into rock. So I don't know how, by the time you run over this a few times with the bike, how that's gonna handle it. We might have to do a bit of rock stacking, especially on that side hill kind of stuff, but it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up. Okay, so at the base of this ravine, there's quite a few trails. We just come in through this way, but there's a trail that goes off that way, which I think I saw the other end of it kind of down where we turned, but that'll be an investigation for another day. And then there's another trail that kind of goes up here, which there's 2 trees down, so that might be a chainsaw job. I think that might be the easiest, but then you can see we start getting into some pretty thick brambles, but this is the base of the ravine, so I think that's a good point for now. We'll have a little look-see in here, because I do like the look of coming up through here better. Because basically we just came over that red log down in the distance there, so it'd be nothing to figure out a way to come in through here and then rip this. And then you can see like there's a ton of tracks in here, so it's definitely a game trail. I just don't want to gain too much elevation. I kind of want to stay low and get on it into the ravine and then shoot it up. So I think that I'll have to chainsaw this next time we're in here. I mean, I'm sure I could find a way around it too, but let's go do a little exploring here. Could just ride up that trail too, I guess, right here. You can just, I mean, you probably can't tell, but the elevation gain here is just absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, this is even decent. So yeah, I think if we cut that out of here, come through, get on this trail. Have to bring some pruning shears or something, I think, for this stuff. Yeah, and then we're right at the base of it here right now. And it's all rock too, so it's gonna be, once we ride through here a little bit, and bust all the top layer off, it's gonna be pretty nice, I think. It's just so gradual, I think, is the key, which is kind of why it caught my eye when we were hiking the other day. But basically it just shoots straight up here. I'll try to maybe pull up a Google Earth right now so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, but I think it's going to be the easiest way for us to get into some better riding, because where it sits right now is I got to do a lot of road riding to get out of here, and by no means is this going to be easy to punch in either. Like, this is just, well, it's an old ravine, so you know what it's like. Tons of blowdown, tons of bramble. But I think it's got the most potential for not beating yourself or your bike up to get out of here. Because like I said earlier, it's like all rock cliffs on that upper piece, which I'll show you the build on that too. But I think this is the quickest win for what we're trying to accomplish which is building riding trails on this side of the mountain. So yeah, that's kind of what we'll be dealing with, is just building the trail all the way up through there now. I'll ride that lower piece now and start punching it in with just the tires. And then I'll probably stash some tools up here. I got a pick and maybe leave a handsaw or two, and we'll go from there. So I'll try to get a GPS of this so you can kind of see what the ravine is I'm talking about, show you some elevations. And then, yeah, maybe we'll time lapse the trail on the way up. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll try to get a GoPro here going too, so that we can get some riding footage and other odds and ends. But thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.